Nima Zongo, the story behind one of Accra's most vibrant communities. Welcome to Nima, a place where the streets are always alive, where traders, artisans, drivers, food vendors, students, family and visitors move through narrow streets and busy intersections, where the sound of conversation mixes with the movement of traffic, the call to prayer, the smell of food, and constant rhyme of commerce. But behind all these activities is a such deeper story, a story of migration, a story of Islam, a story of entrepreneurship, a story of hardship and resilience, and above all, a story of people who came from different places and gradually built a community in the heart of Accra. This is Nima Zongo, and today we are going beyond what we normally see on the surface to understand the history, people, culture, economy, and challenges that have shaped these remarkable communities. Where is Nima? Nima is located in the heart of Accra, just northeast of the city central areas. It sits close to communities such as Mamobi, Kanda, Accra Newtown, and Kokomlemle. Its location is extremely important. Nima is some distant settlement on the outskirts of the capital. It is surrounded by some Accra major residential, commercial, and administrative areas. And this makes Nima an interesting example of how a community that was once on the margin of the expanding city eventually found itself almost completed, surrounded by the modern capital. Research described Nima as one of Accra's major communities and as a densely settled, highly diverse urban neighborhood. But to understand Nima, we first need to understand the word Zongo. What does Zongo mean? The word Zongo is commonly associated with migrant communities in Ghana. Historically, Zongos developed along trade routes and around commercial centers. They provide places where travelers, traders, scholars, religious leaders, and migrants could settle, rest, trade, and establish relationships. Although Zongos are often associated with Hausa-speaking Muslims, the reality is much more diverse. Over generations, people from different ethnic and national backgrounds have lived together in these communities. Hausa, Fulani, Moshi, Yoruba, Wangara, and many and other groups have historically been associated with Zongo settlement. So, a Zongo is simply an ethnic community. It is better understood as a social and cultural space created through migration, trade, religion, and urban settlement. And Nima became one of the most important examples of these places in Accra. The origin of Nima. The history of Nima is closely connected to the migration and the expansion of Accra. Historical and academic accounts commonly connect the development of modern Nima with Malam Amadou Futa, a Muslim religious leader and cattle trader who established a settlement in the area in the early 1930s. According to the historical account, the area was initially outside the main urban boundaries of Accra. Malam Futa and his community helped to establish a settlement where Muslim migrants could live, work, and build their life. The settlement gradually attracted more people. And this is where Nima's story became particularly interesting. People did not simply come because there was land. They came because there was opportunities. Accra was expanding. The city needed labor. People needed somewhere affordable to live. Traders needed customers. Workers needed accommodations. Migrants needed network. And communities like Nima provided exactly that. Migration and the growth of Nima. One of the most important forces behind Nima development was migration. People arrived from different parts of Ghana and from other parts of West Africa. Some came in search of employment. Others came to trade. Some follow relatives and friends. Others came because they already had social or religious connection within the community. This created something very important, a network. If you arrive in Accra as a stranger, having a relative, friend, or fellow migrant in Nima could make the city much easier to navigate. Someone could help you find accommodation. Someone could introduce you to a trader. Someone could help you find a work. Someone could even provide food or temporary shelter. This network of relationship became one of the most foundation of Nima growth. Academic research on Nima has also highlighted the importance of friendship, trust, and social connection among residents. So Nima was not simply a place where migrants live. It became a place where migrants could establish new form of belonging. Is Nima only a Muslim community? Nima is strongly associated with Islam. Mosques and Islamic institutions are an important part of the community identity. The call to prayer is part of everyday soundscape. Islam also influences social relationship, festival, dress, food, and community life. But it is important not to reduce Nima to religion alone. Nima is socially diverse. Different ethnic groups live and interact within the community. And research has found that residents often describe relationships across ethnic and religious boundaries more positively than outsiders might assume. This is important because Nima is sometimes represented only through stereotypes. But when you spend time observing the communities, another picture emerges. You see people negotiating differently every day, people trading with one another, people eating together, people working together, people attending schools, people building families, people celebrating, people disagreeing, and people simply live ordinary life. That everyday interaction is an important part of Nima identity. Nima market, that's the economic heart of Nima. Now, let's talk about one of the most visible features of Nima, the market. The market represents much more than a place where goods are bought and sold. It is an economic ecosystem. Walk through the market and you will find food vendors, clothing sellers, traders, artisans, restaurants, small shops, and countless informal businesses. You see people selling vegetables, you see meat and fish, you see clothing, you see cosmetics, you see household items, you see electronics, you see traditional food, and every day you look, there is movement. For many residents, informal economic activities is an important source of livelihood. Research into household income in Nima has shown the importance of work and small-scale economic activities to households within the community. This tells us something important. When we look at Nima crowded streets, we should not only see congestions, we should see economic activities, we should see entrepreneurship, we should see people creating livelihoods. The street of Nima as a workplace. In many parts of Nima, the street is not simply a road. It can become a workplace. It can become a meeting place. It can become a marketplace. It can become a social space, and sometimes even an extension of the home. A trader can operate from small stall. A mechanic can work beside the road. A food vendor can serve hundreds of customers. A tailor can operate from a tiny shop. A young person can start a small business with relatively little capital. This is one of the characteristics of informal urban economies. They often build from the bottom up, and Nima demonstrates this very clearly. But this economic vibrancy also comes with challenges. Urbanization and pressure on space in Accra Nima. Accra has grown dramatically over the decades. As the city expanded, Nima became increasingly surrounded by urban fabrics. What was once relatively peripheral became central. And when population grew faster than infrastructure, pressure begins to build. Housing became crowded, roads became congested, drainage system faces pressure, waste management becomes difficult, public spaces become limited, and competition for land increases. Recent research continues to identify Nima as a densely settled community, facing significant environmental and infrastructural vulnerabilities, including drainage problems, congestion, and flooding risks. This is not simply a story about people. This is also a story about urban planning, housing, and the built environment. One of the first things a visitor may notice in Nima is the density. Buildings are often closely packed together. Street and alley can be narrow. Different activities happen within very limited spaces. Families live close to businesses. Children grow up surrounded by neighbors. And because land is scarce and expensive in the central location like Accra, every available space becomes valuable. But this density can create serious challenges. Poor drainage can increase flooding risks. Waste can accumulate in spaces where collection is inadequate. Older buildings may require maintenance, and overcrowded can affect sanitation and living conditions. Research on Nima has repeatedly highlighted this environmental and infrastructural concern. But again, this is not another side. People have adapted. Communities developed their own coping mechanisms. Residents created businesses. Families support one another. Local leaders and community organizations respond to problems. And people continue to build their life within the space available for them. That is resilience. The Nima stereotype. There is another issue that deserves attention. The stereotype. For many people who have never visited Nima, the name may immediately bring certain images to mind: poverty, crime, congestion, and insecurity. But research warns us against reducing Zongo communities to this stereotype. Historically, Zongo communities have often been described through the language of the strangers, of the outsiders. Yet, many people living in Nima have families who have lived in Accra for generations. They were born here. Their parents were born here. Their children were born here. So the question becomes, at what point does a migrant community become part of the city itself? This is one of the fascinating questions raised by the history of Nima. The people who were once newcomers helped build the city, and today Nima is an undeniable part of Accra. Young people and the future of Nima. Walk through Nima today and you see a different younger generation. Young people with smartphones, students, entrepreneurs, content creators, footballers, musicians, designers, technicians, drivers, business owners, and young people searching for opportunities. This generation is connected to a very different world from the one their grandparents knew. Social media has changed communities. Technology has changed businesses. The education has opened new opportunities, and migration continues to reshape the communities. The future of Nima will therefore not simply be determined by its history. It will also be determined by its young people. Nima as a cultural space. One of the most fascinating things about Nima is its cultural mixture. You can experience different languages, different food, different style of clothing, different tradition, different forms of music, different expression of Islam, and different West Africa identity existing side by side. This is what makes Zongo communities particularly important in understanding Ghana. They demonstrate that Ghana identity is not static. It is constantly being shaped by migration and interaction. People arrive with their own traditions. They interact with communities already here, and over generation, new identities emerge. Nima is therefore not just a neighborhood. It is also a living laboratory of urban multiculturalism. The contradiction of Nima. Perhaps the best way to understand Nima is through contradiction. It can be crowded yet deeply communal. It can face poverty yet display extraordinary entrepreneurship. It can experience infrastructural challenges yet produce remarkable resilience. It can be described as marginal yet occupy a very central position in Accra. It can be associated with migration, yet contain generation of people who consider Accra home. And it can't be portrayed from outside as one thing. If you enjoyed this journey through Nima Zongo, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comment. And tell me what part of Nima's story surprised you the most. Until next journey.